Welcome back to Betrayal Boulevard, where true stories of deceit are served ice cold. Tonight, we're dialing into a Manhattan penthouse, sunlight slicing through floor to ceiling glass, painting stripes across polished ebony floors. David Sterling, king of his domain at 45, stood by the window, steaming mug in hand, surveying his kingdom of concrete and steel. 20 years ago, this view, this life, was just a blueprint in his mind. "Dad, has anyone seen my calculus note?" Ethan's voice, echoing down from the upper floors, was followed by the frustrated thud of drawers. "Swear, I left them right here last night." David smiled, a familiar warmth spreading. "Check the island, champ. Remember that late-night pizza raid?" Moments later, Ethan, all gangly limbs and damp dark hair, bounded down the stairs, basketball tucked under his arm. At 16, he was already towering over David, mirroring his strong jaw and those piercing blue eyes. "Lifesaver." Ethan grinned, snatching the notebook from the kitchen island. "Coach Rodriguez wants us early for drills. Something about zone defense. Need a ride?" David offered, knowing the answer before the words left his lips. Ethan, fiercely independent, always had his own plans. "Nah, Liam's picking me up. We're grabbing bagels at Leo's first." Notebook crammed into his backpack, Ethan paused, a rare moment of teenage sincerity. "Hey Dad, thanks for making it to every game. Work and all. I know it's crazy, but it means a lot." David felt a surge of pride tighten his chest. Wouldn't miss it for the world. "Kid, morning, everyone." Sarah's voice, bright and melodic, announced her entrance. Heels clicked sharply on the ebony floor as she swept into the kitchen, already dressed for power in a charcoal suit, blonde hair a perfect cascade around her shoulders. At 42, she commanded attention, a fact David never took lightly. Even after 17 years of marriage, up early, David noticed, handing her a fresh coffee. Sarah accepted it with a grateful smile. "Museum board meeting. Fundraiser planning. You know the drill." She turned to Ethan. "Don't forget, Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark are coming for dinner tonight. Cousins are practically vibrating with excitement to see you." "Cool. Might be a little late, though. Debate club after practice." Ethan checked his phone. "Liam's here. Gotta run." A quick kiss to his mother's cheek, basketball in hand, and he was gone. A whirlwind of teenage energy swallowed by the city morning. David watched from the window as Ethan hopped into Liam's car, the two boys instantly deep in conversation. "Sometimes I can't believe how fast he's growing up," he mused. "Remember when we had to tie his shoes?" Sarah wrapped her arms around him from behind, a familiar comfort. "He's always been special. We got lucky." The moment was broken by David's phone buzzing. His brother-in-law's name flashed across the screen. "Mark. Riverside Project. Dave. Just got out of breakfast with the zoning commissioner. You are not going to believe this. Permits are greenlit. Fast-tracked. We could break ground 2 months ahead of schedule." Mark's voice crackled with energy. David's pulse quickened. Bringing Mark into Sterling development 5 years ago had been questioned by some, family and business. But Mark's charisma and sharp instincts had proven invaluable, transforming the company from local player to regional powerhouse. "That's incredible news," David replied, his mind already recalibrating his schedule. "Let's meet at the office in an hour. Hammer out the new timeline." "Actually," Mark said, "lunch meeting with some potential investors. How about 3 p.m.? I'll bring the updated projections." "Perfect. See you then." David ended the call, turning to Sarah. "Your brother's done it again. Riverside is ahead of schedule." Sarah beamed, pride radiating. "Told you Mark was a good move for the company. He always makes things happen." She glanced at her watch. "Gotta run. Board won't wait, even for the chair's wife." David watched her gather her things, that effortless grace that had first caught his eye at that charity gala 17 years ago. He'd been a hungry young developer then, armed with ambition. She, the sophisticated museum curator who saw his potential. Now, they had it all. Penthouse in Manhattan, thriving business, and most importantly, Ethan, their anchor, their love. Later that morning, driving downtown, David couldn't help but smile at another Sterling development crane piercing the skyline. New York Business Monthly had recently named him one of the city's most influential leaders, but those accolades paled compared to quiet mornings with Sarah and Ethan. The quiet satisfaction of building something lasting with Mark. Life wasn't perfect. Never was. But David Sterling was damn close. He pulled into his reserved spot at Sterling Development Headquarters, ready to build his legacy, blissfully unaware that the first hairline fracture was already spiderwebbing across the foundation of his perfect life. The first tremor hit during a family dinner in early February. David, channeling his inner chef, insisted on paella, a dish resurrected from their honeymoon in Spain. Saffron and seafood perfume filled the air as he worked, stealing glances at the gathering in the living room. Sarah, perched on the sofa arm, wine glass in hand, laughed at something Mark had just said. She wore a new dress, emerald green, figure-hugging, a dress David didn't recognize. Her brother leaned against the fireplace, his usual confident posture relaxed, perhaps too relaxed. His gaze lingered on Sarah, a fraction too long. "Dad," Ethan's voice cut through David's unease. "Rice is sticking." "Right." David stirred the paella, forcing his attention back to the task. Ridiculous, he thought, seeing shadows where there were none. Mark and Sarah had always been close, part of why he had brought Mark into the business in the first place. "Something smells amazing," Carol called out, bursting through the front door. Twin daughters, Lily and Rose, racing ahead. At 8, they were bundles of energy, launching themselves at Ethan with squeals. "Careful with the old man." Ethan laughed, pretending to buckle under their attack. "Basketball practice tomorrow." David watched as Mark moved to greet Carol, noting the kiss, almost perfunctory. But Mark had always been reserved with public displays, even within family. "Sarah, that dress is stunning," Carol said, settling onto the sofa. "New, just a little something," Sarah replied, smoothing the fabric. "Speaking of which, we're planning another women's network event next week. You should come." "Carol, escape the clinic for an evening." Carol shook her head. "Thing, but I'm on call that night. Someone has to keep New York's kids healthy while you ladies network." "Their loss is our gain," Mark interjected, a tone David couldn't quite decipher. "More wine for the rest of us, right, sis?" The evening unfolded with its usual warmth, but David found himself hyper-aware, noticing details he'd previously overlooked. The unspoken communication between Sarah and Mark, glances exchanged across the table, the way they both checked their phones more often than usual, though neither mentioned urgent business. "Mom, you missed my game last week," Ethan said during dinner, pushing rice around his plate. "Coach said it was my best defensive performance yet." "Oh, honey, I am so sorry," Sarah responded, looking genuinely contrite. "Networking event ran late, but I promise I'll be at the next one." "It's fine," Ethan shrugged. But David caught the flicker of disappointment in his son's eyes. "Uncle Mark made it, though." Mark cleared his throat. "Actually, had to leave early. Client emergency." "Really?" Ethan's eyebrows rose slightly. "Because I saw you in the parking lot after the game. You were on your phone." "Dessert," Sarah announced suddenly, standing abruptly. "Tiramisu from Angelo's. My treat." Later, after their guests had left and Ethan retreated to his room, David found Sarah in their bathroom, removing her makeup. "You've been going to a lot of these networking events lately," he observed, keeping his tone casual. Sarah met his eyes in the mirror. "It's important to maintain a strong female presence in the business community." "David, you know how male-dominated real estate can be." "Of course." David nodded. "Just miss having you around more." "Don't worry," she smiled, turning to face him. "It's just a phase. Everything's fine." But the next morning, David noticed a text notification flash across Sarah's phone on the kitchen counter. "Meeting confirmed, 2 p.m. Same place. Sender." When he mentioned to Mark during their morning meeting that Sarah seemed busy with her networking events, his brother-in-law's response was a beat too quick, too rehearsed. "You know, Sarah." Mark chuckled, shuffling papers on his desk, avoiding eye contact, always expanding her circle. "Speaking of which, I need to reschedule our site visit to Riverside." Something came up. "Another personal appointment?" David asked. "Yeah," Mark mumbled. Life gets complicated sometimes. That evening, helping Ethan with calculus homework, his son suddenly put down his pencil. Dad, do you ever notice anything weird about Mom and Uncle Mark? David felt a knot tighten in his stomach. Weird how just the way they act sometimes, like they have secrets. Ethan hesitated. Last week, before my game, I saw them in the parking lot at Lincoln Center. They didn't see me, but they were sitting in Uncle Mark's car, talking really intensely. And David prompted gently. And when I walked by Mom's home office yesterday, I heard her on the phone with someone, but she hung up really fast when she saw me. David forced a smile. Though it felt brittle, they worked together. Buddy, sometimes business requires private conversations. Yeah, maybe. Ethan didn't sound convinced. But Mom's been different lately. She misses my games. She's always on her phone. And sometimes she looks at you like she's feeling guilty about something. Your mom's just busy with her museum work, David said, but the words rang hollow even to his own ears. Let's focus on this derivative problem. Okay. That night, David lay awake long after Sarah had fallen asleep beside him. Lingering glances, missed meetings, secret calls, each incident, isolated, was innocent. Combined, they formed a pattern he couldn't ignore. No, he told himself firmly. This was his family. Mark, his brother-in-law, business partner, friend, Sarah, his wife of 17 years, Ethan's mother. He was imagining things, creating problems where none existed. Still, as sleep finally claimed him, David couldn't shake the feeling that something in his perfect life had begun to shift, like the first tremors before a major earthquake. The March morning dawned gray and drizzly, typical New York weather mirroring David's mood as he packed for Chicago. The Wyndham deal, a potential game changer, could catapult Sterling development into the Midwest market. Everything had to be flawless. Are you sure you can't come? David asked, watching Sarah rush around the bedroom, gathering items for what she claimed was an emergency museum event. The realtor said the lakefront views are incredible this time of year. David, I'm so sorry, Sarah replied, not quite meeting his eyes, but Amelia is counting on me for this event. You know how these things are. If the chair's wife isn't there, people talk. David nodded slowly, noticing her constant phone checked. And Mark, he's still not coming either. He mentioned local clients, Sarah said quickly. Too quickly? Besides, you don't need us holding your hand. You were closing deals before Mark even joined the company. A knock on their bedroom door interrupted any reply David might have made. Ethan stood there, ready for school, his expression uncharacteristically somber. Dad, can I drive you to the airport? Liam can pick me up from there for practice. David felt a surge of affection for his son. Sure, buddy, let me just finish packing. The drive to LaGuardia was longer than usual. Traffic snarled by a minor accident on the BQE. Ethan was unusually quiet, his hands gripping the wheel too tightly. Everything okay? David asked as they finally pulled into the departure lane. Ethan put the car in park, turning to face his father. Mom's lying about the museum event. David's chest tightened. What makes you say that? I overheard her on the phone with Amelia last night. Amelia was asking her to help with some event next month. Mom said she hadn't done any event planning since the Christmas gala. The implications hung heavy in the air. David forced a steady breath. Maybe there was a miscommunication, or maybe it's a different event. Dad, Ethan's voice cracked slightly. I'm not stupid. Something's going on with Mom and Uncle Mark. The way they look at each other, how they always disappear at the same time. He swallowed hard. I saw them yesterday at that coffee shop on Bleecker. They didn't see me. They were holding hands under the table. David felt as if the air had been sucked from the car. He wanted to deny it, protect Ethan from these suspicions, but his son's eyes held a knowledge too certain to dismiss. I'll figure it out, David said finally, squeezing Ethan's shoulder. Whatever's going on, we'll handle it together. Okay. Ethan nodded, blinking rapidly. Just be careful, Dad, and come back soon. The flight to Chicago was a blur of spreadsheets and presentation rehearsals, but David's mind kept circling back to Ethan's words, to all the subtle signs he dismissed. By the time he checked into the Palmer house, Hilton. He felt physically ill with worry. David Sterling, you look like hell. The familiar voice came from across the hotel bar where Leo Maxwell, a private investigator, sat with a whiskey. Leo, David's go-to for discreet background checks for years, was known for his thoroughness. Leo, David slid onto the stool. Thought you were in Seattle this month. Wrapped up early. Unfaithful spouse case. Same old story. Leo studied David's face. But something tells me you've got your own troubles. David ordered a scotch, then found himself spilling everything. The museum events, the secret calls, Ethan's observations, the last-minute cancellations. Leo listened, his expression growing grave. Want me to look into it? He asked quietly. Of course, discreetly. The thought of having Sarah and Mark investigated felt like a betrayal itself, but the alternative, living with this gnawing uncertainty, felt worse. Just keep an eye on things while I'm gone, David said finally. If there's anything obvious, let me know, but don't dig too deep. Not yet. Leo nodded, understanding. Sometimes people surprise us. David, not always in good ways. That night, alone in his hotel room, David tried calling home. Voicemail. Sarah's voice. Cheerful, professional. He tried Mark's number. Voicemail again. He opened his laptop, intending to review the presentation, but found himself staring at a photo from last year's company holiday party. Everyone looked so happy, so normal. Mark, arm around Carol, Sarah beside David, hand lightly on his shoulder. Ethan, grinning between them, a perfect family portrait. When had it started to unravel? His phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Got home from practice, and house empty. Mom left a note about the museum event. David texted back, everything okay? Yeah, doing homework. Called Aunt Carol about bio project. She said Uncle Mark's at a client meeting. David checked his watch. 9:30 p.m. Chicago time. 10:30 p.m. in New York. Client meeting this late. He pushed the thought away, forcing focus on the Wyndham deal. The next 2 days were a blur of meetings, handshakes, contracts. David threw himself into work, finding temporary solace in the details. But each night, alone, the doubts returned. Leo sent updates, carefully worded. Office says Mark taking long lunches. Sarah's car spotted in Soho when she was supposed to be at a board meeting. Both careful with phones, using Signal. During a break, David called Ethan. Any word from your mom about tomorrow's game? He asked casually. She said she might not make it. Ethan's disappointment was palpable. Museum event running long. Dad. Ethan's voice dropped. I drove past the gallery where she said the event was. Closed for renovations this month. David closed his eyes, leaning against the hotel window. Chicago sprawled below, a grid of lights and shadows. Ethan, I need you to do something for me. Don't confront them. Don't let on you know anything. Can you do that? Yeah. Ethan's voice was quiet. Steady. I can do that. Just come home soon. Okay. On his final evening in Chicago, David sat in the hotel bar with Leo again, picking at untouched food. There's more, Leo said carefully. My contact at First National mentioned unusual account activity. New joint account, opened recently. Couldn't get details without flags. And Mark bought property in Mexico through an LLC. Sunset Ventures. David held up a hand. I don't want to know. Not yet. He pulled out his phone. Flight details for tomorrow. I need to handle this carefully. For Ethan, Leo nodded. Remember, David, in these situations, first mover advantage. Lying awake that night, David thought of his life 3 months ago, when everything seemed perfect. Had he been blind? Or had he simply trusted too deeply? His phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. Miss you. Museum event hectic. Can't wait to have you home. David stared at the message, remembering Ethan's words about the gallery being closed. Another lie. Another crack. He turned off his phone and began to plan. Whatever awaited him in New York, he would face it with methodical precision. David Sterling had always played the long game. As he drifted to sleep, his last thought was of Ethan, perceptive, strong, wise beyond his years. Whatever happened, they would face it together. The red-eye touched down at LaGuardia just before 11 p.m. Exhaustion vanished the moment David saw the note on the kitchen counter. Sarah's flowing script, museum gala with Amelia. Don't wait up. Penthouse felt eerily silent. David dropped his briefcase, loosened his tie. Ethan's basketball shoes were missing from their usual spot. A text message. Practice late. Staying at Liam's to study. Back tomorrow. Too formal for Ethan. David was about to call when his phone buzzed again. Text from Ethan. Dad. Ignore last message. Sent it in case Mom or Uncle Mark check my phone. Need to talk. Something's wrong. David's heart spiked. Before he could reply, the phone rang. Ethan's voice. A whisper. Dad? You alone? Yes. What's going on? I saw them. Dad, Mom and Uncle Mark. Ethan's voice cracked. Downtown with Liam after practice. Getting pizza at Lombardi's. Saw Mom's car pull up. Not heading to any gala. She was with Uncle Mark. David sank into a chair, gripping the table edge. Where are they now? Told Liam I forgot something at school. Followed them. A shaky breath. They're at the Empire Hotel. Dad, They were kissing in the elevator. Recorded it on my phone. Sending you the video now. His phone buzzed. Incoming file. Hands trembling. David opened it. Brief footage. Crystal clear. Sarah and Mark. Intimate embrace. Entering room 803. Timestamp. 10:47 p.m. Ethan, listen carefully. David forced his voice steady. Where are you now? Car. Across the street. Should I know? Come home immediately. Pack a bag. Essentials. Clothes. Passport. School documents. Don't post anything. Don't tell anyone. Not even Liam. Dad, I'm scared. Ethan's voice, suddenly small. What's going to happen? We're going to handle this together. David promised. Right now. Drive carefully. Come straight home. Can you do that? Yeah, leaving now. Hanging up. David sat in the darkened kitchen, the video looping on his phone. All the signs. There all along. He'd chosen to ignore them. Trust in family bonds that now felt like chains. His phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. Gala running late. Wonderful time raising fund. Don't wait up. Love you. Another lie. Another manipulation. David thought of Carol, of Lily and Rose. Asleep. Unaware. Garage door opening snapped him back. Footsteps on the stairs. Ethan appeared, pale but determined. Got everything important. Duffel bag at his feet. Dad, there's more. Last week, overheard Uncle Mark on the phone. Office. Take over. Proving you unfit to lead. David nodded slowly, pieces clicking into place. How long have you suspected? Months. Didn't want to believe it. Ethan's shoulders slumped. Mom's been different. Colder. Sometimes. Catches her looking at family photos, like they're props. Tired of performing. Kitchen clock ticked loudly. Father and son. World unraveling. David stood. Hack your computer. External drives. Document everything. Phone out. Leo Maxwell. As Ethan disappeared upstairs, David thought of family dinners, vacations, shared dreams. Had any of it been real? Or had he been a player in someone else's production? Never seeing the script until now. Video mocked him. Room 803. Betrayal in 30 seconds. Sometime David realized the most devastating truths arrive not in grand revelations, but small, undeniable moments caught on camera. Leo answered. David, about to call you. How bad? David paced his office, voice low. Ethan gathering things. Leo, sit down. Financial monitoring. Joint account. First National. 8 months ago. Deposits under reporting threshold. Mark. Property in Mexico. LLC Sunset Ventures. David's grip tightened. 2 years. They've been planning this 2 years. At least. Properties exit strategy. More. David. Meetings with investors. Your investors. Documents painting you unstable. Names. Leo. Times. Dates. Every meeting. Compiling them. David. Move fast. Once they realize you know, understood. David pulled up banking app. Send everything secure email. Leo, thank you. Next hour. Focused activity. David called Franklin Hayes, his lawyer, who answered despite the hour. Frank, contingency plan. Last year, activated. Hostile takeover protection. David, nuclear option. Sure. Frank, wife. Brother-in-law. David's voice steady, hands shaking as he typed transfer codes. Documents filed before markets opened. Hour to wake team. David, don't confront them yet. Let me get things in order. Next, Nick Best, security company owner. Front, Nick, locksmith. Immediately. Yes, I know the time. Important. Ethan appeared. Laptop. Drives. Dad found something else. Computer on desk. Last week, installed backup program on mom's laptop. Email fix. Copying documents to cloud. David stared at Ethan. Pride. Sadness. Show me. Folder filled with spreadsheets, documents, dates, information about erratic behavior, board meetings. Dad, you weren't even at some meetings. Fabricated. David clicked files. Lies. Copies to Leo. Frank. Document everything. Phone buzzed. Jesse Riley. College friend. Boston. Message received. Guest apartment ready? No questions. Methodically, David transferred funds, canceled cards, ordered new ones, documented transactions, downloaded security footage, gathered passports. Around 2 a.m., Ethan brought a coffee. Locksmith finished. New codes. Exterior doors. David looked at Ethan. So young. Ethan, important question. Sure you want to be part of this? Grandma's? No. Ethan's voice firm. Not letting you face this alone. Besides, weak smile. Always wanted to see Boston. David booked 2 one-way tickets. Ethan gathered photos, hard drives, penthouse. No longer home. Crime scene. Phone lit up. Confirmations. New account. Cards deactivated. Emergency board meeting. Flight confirmation. Temporary housing. Severed ties. Steps toward escape. But more evidence. More protection needed. Dad. Someone at door. Security camera. Paige Cameron. Disheveled. Urgent. 3 a.m. Whatever brought Paige, David knew it would change everything. He checked the feed again, then opened the door. Paige Cameron. Mascara streaked. Designer dress wrinkled. Rushed in. Should have told you months ago. Pacing. Convinced myself it wasn't my place. Imagining things. But tonight stopped. Noticing Ethan. Oh God. Ethan. So sorry. Not at the gala. David observed. Voice neutral. Paige laughed bitterly. No gala. Never would. I've been such a fool. All those networking event covers, I helped create them. Didn't realize. Sank into a chair, trembling. Red Moon Hotel bar, client meeting. Saw them. Ethan moved closer, phone in hand. I have video. So do I. Paige pulled out her phone. Recording. Didn't see me. Corner booth. Recorded everything. Plans. Timeline. David gestured to Ethan. Laptop. Record of Paige's statement. Planning to present evidence of mental instability. Next week's board meeting. Paige's voice cracked. Mark gathering signatures. Investors. Claiming irrational decisions. Threatening company stability. Forged documents. Meeting minutes. Emails. Ethan returned. Laptop recording. David nodded Paige to continue. Sarah. Playing concerned wife, telling investors she's worried about your state of mind. Building this narrative for months. Emergency board meeting. Present evidence. Remove voting rights. When? David asked. Knowing. Monday morning. Votes lined up. Mark promising positions. Paige pulled up more recordings. Listen. Mark's voice. Once David's out. Restructure. Mexico property. Just the beginning. With him declared unfit. Sarah controls his shares. Next of kin, boards on board. Just need final evidence package. Sarah's voice followed. Everything in place. Fake psych evaluations. Doctor, security footage, office, witness statements, episodes during meetings. No one will question it. Wife confirming instability. David watched Ethan's face, fists clenching. Ethan, step out. No. Ethan's voice steel. Need to hear it all. Paige looked between them, tears streaming down her face. There's worse. Affair. Going on since before Mark joined. Planned this from the beginning. Mark's position. Trust with investors. hours, all orchestrated. Carol, David asked, thinking of Mark's wife. No idea. Used her reputation, pediatrician credibility, made sure she was too busy to notice. Paige pulled out USB drive, downloaded everything from Sarah's cloud account, email threads, 3 years back, bank statements, Mexico records. David took the drive. Why are you telling us this now? Paige slumped. Tonight, heard them laughing. About you. Ethan, how perfectly plan worked. Celebrating with champagne. New life in Mexico, finally free. Once you were institutionalized, not just company, freedom. Dad. Ethan's voice quiet, firm. We need to leave now. David nodded, mind erasing. Evidence, truth, crucial. Page, official statement. Everything you told us, saw, heard. Can you do that? She straightened, wiping eyes. Yes. Testify if needed. Done being their accomplice. Next hour, recorded Paige's account, names, dates, details. When finished, David walked her to the door. They'll know you warned us. I know. Weak smile, penance for not seeing truth sooner. Go. Get safe. Board gets copies, everything. Monday morning, after she left, David and Ethan stood in foyer. Bags, evidence, penthouse, enemy territory. What time's flight? Ethan asked. David checked his watch. 3 hours. Enough time to finish. Evidence. Truth. Now. Disappear. Pre-dawn air, thick with tension. David's final preparations. Kitchen counter. 3 items. Divorce papers. USB drive. Letter. Sarah, by time you read this, board received evidence of your and Mark's activities. Joint accounts closed. Company access logged. Don't try to find us. Ethan stood in doorway. Backpack. Dad. Car's ready. David took one last look. Kitchen. Thousands of meals. Family. Bitter word now. Did you check your room again? David asked. Nothing traceable. Wiped computer. Factory reset old phone. Ethan managed weak smile. Cybersecurity lectures finally paid off. David nodded. Bags by door. 2 each. Essentials only. New identity. Sealed envelope from Leo. Instructions. New names. Board meeting starts 9 a.m. David said. By then, we'll be don't say where. Ethan's voice firm. Not even here. Smart kid. Mail forwarded. P.O. box. Another state. New phones. Cash. Burner numbers. Jacket pockets. Security system beeped softly. Final code. After tonight, codes changed. Passwords reset. Digital life erased. Remember, David said, loading bags into rental car. If anyone asks, Seattle, college tour. Ethan recited cover story perfectly. Scenic route, coast. Mom's meeting us there later. Sky lightning as they pulled out. David caught Ethan staring at penthouse and rearview mirror. Expression unreadable. We can get through this, David said softly. Ethan straightened. I know, Dad. We already are. Turned onto main road. Phone buzzed. Text from Leo. Documents delivered. Board members' homes. Security footage wiped. Airport cameras looped. You're clear. David powered off phone. Removed battery. Handed it to Ethan, who added it to bag of electronics. Sun rising over New York, but not in direction anyone expected. Perfect life behind them. Uncertainty ahead, but also truth. Ethan reached over. Radio low. Neither spoke as city disappeared. Everything said in frantic night hours. Time to vanish. Empire Hotel. 8th floor. Room 803. Sarah's phone. Silenced. Missed calls from board chairman. By time she read them. By time she understood. Plan in ruins. Sometimes. Best revenge. Simply being gone when enemies came looking. Jesse Riley's Back Bay apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Charles Riverview. Unnoticed by David and Ethan. First week in Boston. Rebuilding. Phillips Academy. Andover loved Ethan's transcripts. Jesse said. Enrollment papers. Basketball coach nearly fell out of chair. Game footage. Mid-semester transfer exception. Ethan looked up from laptop. Portland Business News. When can I start? Monday. Jesse smiled. Varsity team spot offered. Asked why you left old school so abruptly. Family emergency. Ethan replied. Cover story smooth. Mom's illness. Specialized treatment. Boston. David watched Ethan handle lie, pride, sadness. Temporary apartment ready. Jesse continued. Keys. Top floor. Secure. Private elevator, lease under my company. David nodded. Office space, Prudential Tower, 15th floor. East Coast, contacts lining up meetings. Jesse hesitated. Portland news reached them. They're on your side. Ethan clicked laptop. Dad, board statement just went public. Headline, Sterling Development announces emergency leadership changes. Brutal statement, Mark Brooks removed. All positions. Financial audit order. Criminal investigation. Board's complete support. David Sterling. Investor lawsuits filed. Sarah's filing for divorce. Ethan said quietly. Moved out with girls. David thought of Carol's daughters. Lloyd keeps tabs on them. Innocent in all this. Jesse cleared throat. Lloyd update. Sarah tried accessing joint account. Failed. Office security revoked access. Investors. All 17 received evidence package. Videos. Jesse's expression hardened. Not happy. 3 lawsuits filed. Ethan closed laptop. New apartment. David recognized Ethan's need to move. Do something. Good idea. Apartment. Marlborough Street. Brownstone. Discreet security. Private neighbors. Smaller than penthouse, but felt secure. 2 bedrooms. Study. Doorman building. Generator. Security system. Jesse opened door off kitchen. Private roof access. Maybe save basketball practice for school. Jesse grinned. Ethan managed real smile. Perfect. Later. After Jesse left, David found Ethan unpacking. New room. Orientation Friday. David said. New clothes. School supplies. Dad. Ethan set down book. Are you really starting a new company? Yes. Sustainable urban development. Wanted to do it for years. David sat on windowsill. Your mother, Mark, focused on traditional development. Never saw green building potential. Never saw a lot of things. Ethan's voice quiet, steady, like how much stronger we'd be without them. David looked at Ethan, no longer child. Young man, faced betrayal with courage. Integrity over family ties. We're going to be okay. You know, I know. Ethan gestured laptop. Portland Business Journal, already calling it Scandal of the Year, but we're not there. We're here. Starting over. Together. David nodded. Weightlifting. Old life gone. Something new taking shape. Truth. Strength. Through window, Boston skyline glittered. Possibility. Tomorrow. Investor meetings. Ethan. New school tour. First steps. New life. For now, they sat together. Sunset. New city. Traffic sounds replacing Portland rhythms. Sometimes, David realized you had to lose old dreams to find better ones. Ethan reached over, turned on radio. Volume low. Neither spoke. Old city disappeared behind them. They had said everything that needed saying. Now, time to vanish. Spring. Boston's Back Bay. Cherry blossoms. David stood at office window. Prudential Tower. Reviewing sustainability report. Green Harbor Development. Past year's projects. 3 innovation awards. Intercom buzzed. Mr. Sterling. Leo Maxwell online. David picked up phone. Portland area code. Leo. Been a while? Thought you'd want to know the latest. Leo's voice across mild. Mark surfaced. Puerto Vallarta. Trying to sell beachfront property. Lawsuits froze assets. Sarah. Still Portland. PI firm stopped looking 3 months ago. Run out of money. Allies. Leo paused. Board voted to dissolve remaining shares. Yesterday. Officially over. David glanced at framed newspaper article. Green Harbor sets new standard. No Portland mention. No past reference. Just recognition. One more thing. Leo added. Paige Cameron sent letter through Jesse. Sit down. Before Leo continued, office door opened. Ethan. and over uniform. Harvard acceptance letter. Dad, not going to believe stopped. Phone. Sorry. Wait, no. Come in. David gestured chair. Leo. Send letter secure address. Ethan's here. Got news. Screen popped up. Ethan's Harvard office. Hey, Dad. Leo. Mexico situation. Leo nodded. Mark Brooks died last week. Heart attack. Fishing boat. Puerto Vallarta. Found 2 days later. David absorbed news silently. Mark. Decade hiding. Lawsuits. Scraping by. Beachfront property seized years ago. What about daughters? David asked. Emma. Sophie. Fine. Ethan replied. Finishing medical school, Second Chance Foundation, Carol's pediatric practice, Boston's most respected foundation, initially for Mark's daughters, major force, education, second chances. Neither Emma nor Sophie knew. Benefactor was man. Their father tried to destroy. And Sarah? David's voice steady. Still Portland. Leo pulled up file. Last lawsuit settled 6 months ago. Real estate agent. Small local firm. Only place would hire her after scandal. Tried restarting art curator career. Leo shrugged. Portland social circle. Long memory. Screen split. Incoming call. Jesse Riley. Green Harbors. CSO. David. Ethan. Business Weekly latest. Sustainable architecture pioneers. You're both mentioned. Article appeared. Betrayal to brilliance. Father-son team revolutionized green development. Journey from Portland to Boston detailed. Personal details private. What mattered? Their work, impact, legacy, more, Leo said quietly. Paige Cameron sent this yesterday. New document appeared. Sarah's handwritten confession. Final piece of story. Learned over years. Detailed how she and Mark targeted David in 20s. Seeing potential, Mark intentionally stayed away. Building reputation. Every step calculated. Every relationship weaponized. Trying to sell story to publishers. Leo explained. No one's interested. Business world moved on. Green development future. And you wrote that story. Ethan's expression thoughtful. Emma, Sophie should see this. Deserve to understand father's choices. Now old enough. David nodded, remembering scared teenage girls. Foundation hadn't just funded education, given chance to become different from father's legacy. Emma, pediatrics. Sophie, trauma surgery. Send it through. Carol. David decided Carol always protected them while telling them the truth. She'll know how to handle this. After calls ended, David walked to window. Boston skyline changed. New buildings. Green Harbor's designs. Each, not just business success. Victory over betrayal. Phone buzzed. Text from Ethan. Dinner tonight. Emma, defending thesis next week. Discuss Foundation's medical scholarship program. David smiled. Teenager who risked everything to tell truth. Ethan, man, turned truth-telling into mission. Success to help others rebuild broken dreams. Another message. Jesse, Carol's annual charity gala. Next month. Girls want you to attend this year. Time to step out of shadows. Perhaps Emma, Sophie, proven different from father. Faced scandal head-on. Chosen better path. David thought of Mark's death. Sarah's fall. Perfectly planned betrayal backfires spectacularly. Architectural magazines called Green Harbor buildings. Monuments to sustainable future. But David knew. Monuments to resilience. Proof betrayal couldn't destroy you unless you let it. Phone buzzed again. News alert. Former Portland socialite Sarah Brooks. Files for bankruptcy. Article mentioned failed attempts to rebuild life. Social isolation. Lost opportunities. Decade watching ex-husband. Former stepson rise. While she faded, David closed alert without reading further. Revenge. Not Sarah's downfall. Mark's death. But lives they'd built. People they'd helped. Future they'd shaped. Second Chance Foundation. Dozens of students besides Emma. Sophie. Testaments to power of integrity over betrayal. Dad. Ethan stood in doorway. Must have driven from Harvard. Foundation board meeting. Hour. Review scholarship proposals. David grabbed coat, leaving news about Sarah. Mark behind. Their story ended years ago. Portland penthouse. This different story. building, not breaking, transforming betrayal's wounds into wisdom. As they walked to meeting, Ethan mentioned casually, "Emma, Sophie asking about you." Not directly, but figured out support. Not angry. "Dad, grateful." David thought of Jesse's text, stepping out shadows. Maybe time, best revenge. Not just living well, living openly, generously, showing world betrayal could become blueprint for something better. "Let's talk over dinner," he said. Angelo's. Ethan grinned, expression so similar to teenage self. Ears collapsed. Perfect. And Dad, thanks for showing me the right way isn't always easy way. As they stepped into spring sunshine, David realized greatest victory, not watching betrayers fall, but rising so far above betrayal, became distant chapter. Cherry blossoms drifted down, heading toward favorite restaurant. Father, son, survivors, builders, footsteps sure on path chosen together. Epilogue. 10 years carved new lines into Portland Business District. Old Sterling Development Building, different company name. Dated designs. Among newer buildings, Green Harbor Developments, West Coast expansion, 40-story marvel, 7th International Award. David Sterling, 55, Boston office, video call, executive team, Portland project manager, final touches, Harvard's environmental architecture department. Once case study, manager explained. Professor Ethan Sterling specifically requested access for graduate students. David smiled. Ethan, 26, MBA, environmental engineering degree. Harvard professor, Green Harbor Innovation Division head. Intercom buzzed. "Mr. Sterling, Leo Maxwell here." Leo, aged well, investigative skills sharpened, settled chair by David's desk. Promised Ethan update. "Mexico situation," Leo said. Tablet. "Ethan's faculty meeting. Join us online." Window popped up. Ethan's Harvard office. "Hey, Dad." Leo. "About Mexico." Leo nodded. "Mark Brooks died last week. Heart attack. Fishing boat. Puerto Vallarta. Authorities found him 2 days later." David absorbed news silently. Kane spent decade hiding. Lawsuits. Beachfront property seized years ago. "What about daughters?" David asked. "Emma. Sophie." "Fine," Ethan replied. "Finishing medical school. Second Chance Foundation. Carol's pediatric practice. Boston's most respected foundation. Major force." Emma. Pediatrics. Sophie. Trauma surgery. Neither knew anonymous benefactor. Man father tried to destroy. And Sarah. David's voice steady. Professional. Leo pulled up file. "Still Portland. Last lawsuit settled 6 months ago. Real estate agent. Small local firm." Shrug. "Portland social circle. Long memory. Screen split." Jesse Riley. Green Harbor CSO. David. Ethan. Business Weekly latest. Sustainable architecture pioneers. Article appeared. Betrayal to brilliance. Journey Portland to Boston. Private details. What mattered. Work. Impact. Legacy. More. Leo said. H. Cameron sent this yesterday. New document. Sarah's handwritten confession. Luncan. Targeted David in 20s. Mark intentionally stayed away. Building reputation. Every step calculated. Every relationship weaponized. Trying to sell a story. Leo explained. No one's interested. Business world moved on. Green development future. You wrote that story. Ethan's expression thoughtful. "Emma, Sophie should see this." David nodded. "Send it through." Carol, after call. David walked to window. Boston skyline. Green Harbor's designs. Each building. Victory over betrayal. Phone buzzed. Text Ethan. "Dinner tonight. Discuss Foundation's medical scholarship program." David smiled. Teenager risked everything. Ethan. Man. Turned truth-telling into mission. Another message. Jesse. Carol's gala next month. "Girls want you to attend this year. Time to step out." Shadows. Perhaps. Emma. Sophie. Different from father. Faced scandal. Chosen better path. David thought of Mark's death. Sarah's fall. Planned betrayal backfired. Magazines called Green Harbor buildings. monuments to sustainable future. But David knew resilience, proof betrayal couldn't destroy you. Phone buzzed again. News alert. Former Portland socialite Sarah Brooks files for bankruptcy. Article. Failed attempts to rebuild life. Social isolation. Lost opportunities. Decade watching ex-husband. Stepson rise. While she faded, David closed alert. Revenge. Lives they built. People they helped, future they shaped, second chance foundation, dozens of students, testaments to integrity over betrayal. Dad, Ethan stood in doorway. Foundation board meeting, hour, scholarship proposals. David grabbed coat, leaving Sarah, Mark behind. Story ended, Portland penthouse. This, different story. Building, not breaking, transforming wounds into wisdom. As they walked to meeting, Ethan mentioned, Emma, Sophie asking about you. Grateful. David thought of Jesse's text, stepping out shadows. Maybe time. Best revenge. Living openly, generously, showing betrayal blueprint for something better. Let's talk over dinner, he said. Angelo. Ethan grinned. Perfect. Dad, thanks for showing me. Right way isn't always easy way. Spring sunshine. David realized. Greatest victory. Rising above betrayal. Cherry blossoms blooming. Back Bay. Year of growth. Change. Building rather than breaking. Deepest wound. Strongest foundations. If brave enough to build something new,